looking, I wasn't touching. Students, we used to make do with a minibus on hill climbing days. Well, this is the car park a couple of miles west of the lovely village of Torridon, where you start up Beinn Alligin. One of 3 mountains in Torridon, and if you want to be introduced to the mountains of Torridon, probably the least demanding to start out, and the other two, Gruagaich and Beinn, demand a little bit more oomph. It's very busy, but that's because the National Trust own Beinn Alligin and there's no stalking restrictions, plus it's a very popular area. Look at that, that's lovely, you can see why it's so popular. That's enough, thank you, mountains to climb. Now this is the start of the route here, which goes through a beautiful picturesque little forest. However, tourists come up here with their dogs and walk around on it and so on, but we only enjoy it for a few miles and then we actually have to start climbing.
The Gaelic pronunciation would be Beinn Àilleagan. Now, there's Alligin, meaning a jewel, or something very beautiful, and it could be the genitive of that. There is, however, a difficulty, as pointed out by the great Watson, that there's an Inver Alligin, which would suggest that the name came from a river, as river names are so very old.
It always makes the walk into a hill more enjoyable when the route follows water, and this is a spectacular little river with waterfalls every few hundred yards. There's also a tantalising view of the ridge from down here, just in case you had any second thoughts about nipping back to the car and driving to a hotel for buttered scones. Well, this is where the path divides, and if you should choose to take the path that continues along that side of the river, you'll take a low-level walk round the back of Gruagaich, a spectacular walk. And incidentally, last year when we were climbing Gruagaich, we dropped a very expensive tripod bag off the top into a gully. So if you do this walk and you come across it, please return it to us and it'll be a great reward. Let me think, a night out with Ross Murray. Don't imagine we'll see that bag again. Now we've got to continue up here onto the ridge to get to the summit of Beinn Alligin, and we cross something called the Horns of Alligin. Now that's not the brass section of a soul band, but in fact 2 pinnacles of rock. Why horns and not pinnacles? I have no idea. Well, horns usually come in pairs, but the horns are 3 pinnacles and not 2, which is more bewildering. Well, I'm bewildered, but there's nothing new there. We're traversing Beinn Alligin from east to west, but it's just as enjoyable in the reverse direction. Either way, you can plan a circular route. Well, looks like the stroll is over because we've been broken in very gently so far to get to here, 1,400 feet, without much effort. But this is where the climb begins. And that's the same in any ridge walk, unless it was a big 20-mile long ramp and climbing very gently. You're going to have to haul yourself up onto its back at some point. Great fun. just a bit of hard work, nothing too tricky, and that enjoyable little scramble that gets you up this high to the highest of the three pinnacles called the Horns of Alligin. And by taking this east-west route, you have to do the pinnacles. You can't just sneak up the Munro and sneak back down again. But I'm up here and I'm still confused. Those are pinnacles, not horns. Why horns? Give me that. Sandstone cliffs and boulder fields are a major feature of Beinn Alligin. Sadly, it was here below these forbidding slopes that one of the last wolves in Scotland was hunted down and killed in the mid-18th century. Yes folks, it's a very long, hard pull up that last bit to get here to the summit of the only Munro in Beinn Alligin, Sgùrr Mhòr. Yes, yet another Munro called Sgùrr Mhòr, how original. But we're going to continue along this ridge and take in another top, which is just as interesting I think, though it is not a Munro called Tom the Gruagaich, and that's the way we'll be descending. The views up here are so outstanding, but that's a feature of all the Torridon hills I think. Across Loch Torridon you can pick up Ben Damp, see all the way to the Applecross Hills, and we can just make out sky today with the sea glittering out there. I'm a happy woman, a happy woman.